Welcome to Racist of the Week. My name is Reese Waters. This is where we expose the stupidity and hypocrisy of discrimination in hopes we can build a more perfect union. And also laugh. As usual, I would like to thank today's sponsor, Racism. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the page, and definitely leave me any possible suggestions for nominees in the comments. You can email me at reese.waters@gmail.com. Now, I would first like to take a moment to pay respect to Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, a 15-term representative from Houston, an advocate for social and economic justice, whose record included being the chief sponsor of the resolution making Juneteenth a federal holiday. Well, Jackson Lee passed away on Friday at the age of 74. Jackson Lee's family released a statement from her office, quote, "A fierce champion of the people, she was affectionately and simply known as Congresswoman by her constituents in recognition of her near ubiquitous presence and service to their daily lives for more than 30 years. President Joe Biden called her a great American whom he worked with for nearly 30 years. Now, for most people, well, all people, this was a moment for respect and reflection, but we have beasts among us. Our first nominee, conservative talking thing, Laura Loomer. In the wake of Sheila Jackson Lee's death, she saw fit to post this. Even on her deathbed, this ghetto bee couldn't keep President Trump's name out of her disgusting mouth. I'd say rest in peace, but we all know lying Democrats who have destroyed our country are going to hell. Sheila Jackson Lee will be remembered as a destructive force in America and one of the most low IQ members of Congress in the history of our nation. Today, she died. Instead of spending her final moments with her family, she was talking S about Trump on X and spewing more lies. She won't be missed, but I'm sure she'll still be voting Democrat this November. Now, I'll at least give her this much. If anybody knows the roll call of hell, it would be a real-life demon. Now, I do find it to be fascinating, the fact that she called her disgusting mouth, she called her low IQ, and of course, she led with ghetto B. I wonder, what is it about a 15-term congresswoman that somebody she would cross the street if they cross paths on Capitol Hill or literally anywhere in America would call her a ghetto bee? What is it about Sheila Jackson Lee that made you say she had a disgusting mouth? You said she had a disgusting mouth. So I guess this is what a mouth is supposed to look like, but this is a disgusting mouth. I wonder what it could be about Sheila Jackson Lee that made you assume that a 15-term congresswoman was low IQ. See, this is what happened. It must have been spell check. It must have been spell check because she went with ghetto, which she really meant DEI. That's what she meant. We using DEI now for black.
I think it's just a failure from top to bottom. I think she was a DEI hire, and I think that that's what we're seeing.
We're not using ghetto no more because you got a nominee who's in between marriages and children who got cases. You have congresswomen who's in between children and marriages and got cases. You had Kid Rock headline the RNC. Oh no, we don't mean ghetto. We don't mean ghetto. We mean black. And to you, Laura Loomer, and you would know this if you were actually interacting with real life people instead of the ghouls and goblins that you're generally surrounded with, you would know that they're using DEI now. I'm just telling you that to help you out. They're using DEI for black now. It's not ghetto. No, ghetto is that's very 90s, early 2000s way to insult a black person. We're not doing that. Now, when this whole thing came to light, she wanted to make sure that people understood that she, in fact, was not celebrating Sheila Jackson Lee's passing. So she posted this gem. I never celebrated the death of Sheila Jackson. I simply spoke the truth and said she was a major Trump hater and a destructive politician who was full of hatred and rage towards Donald Trump till the day she died. I stand by what I said. Everything I said is true. I will always defend President Trump from attacks by low-life Democrats who are only in office because of their skin color. There you are. There you go. There's your DEI. Being dead doesn't change the fact that Sheila Jackson Lee was a piece of S and a terrible congresswoman who spent years inciting violence against Trump. This is not the same as celebrating her death. The only thing I'm celebrating is the fact that Donald Trump survived an assassination attempt. Praise God, that was inspired by the Democrats, and it is looking like an inside job. I meant what I said about Sheila being a ghetto B. Let's not give her sympathy just because she's black and dead. She was a terrible person and facts matter. I'm here to make sure her hatred is never forgotten. Hashtag Trump Vance 2024. Now, I'll be honest, I was really conflicted about this one. I was very conflicted about this one. Last time I was this conflicted was Valentina Gomez, and it was for the exact same reason. So many of you guys sent this in to me, but it is clear that attention is the very goal. So even by dragging her, I am giving her the thing that she so desperately wants, and why not? This is somebody that I would roll my windows up if she was standing in the median as I merged into traffic. This isn't even her first Twitter dump, or as I call it, Elon Musk. She also posted, "I'm happy to see Joe Biden suffering. It makes me happy to know he's going to have a terrible time in his final days in office. I'm happy his wife gets to watch him rot away like the trash pile he is and always has been. Today is very satisfying for me. Don't ever forget what Joe Biden and his enablers took away from all of us. Biden doesn't deserve any sympathy. He's a twisted, sick old man, and that's how he'll be remembered when he's gone." And if you recall, back when Hunter Biden was convicted, she found a way to make it about herself attacking Joe Biden's dead ex-wife. So you can understand why I thought it was conflicted. The kind of person who thinks up the worst possible thing she could possibly say so that somebody pays some attention to her for once in her life is not the kind of person that I want to play into their game. But I thought it was important to mention Laura Loomer for two specific reasons. Number one, let's go to that Jackson Lee post again. Yeah, scroll down to the bottom. That's right, hashtag Trump Vance. Make sure you blast this far and wide because we aren't the ones extending her 15 fangs of fame. It is the right wing. Go ahead, put her on the podcast, bring her to the conventions, make her the literal face of MAGA. Oh, I see you're already on your way. Fantastic. I want to see this face everywhere I see a Trump flag, sticker, or a t-shirt. Didn't y'all say that you were trying to court black men? You know how many black men this going to attract? I mean, really, you know how many black men this is going to attract. Not to mention closing the border. This is definitely going to solve your border crisis right here. We don't need no bipartisan border deal. This face, just throw that all across the non-existent wall. They going to stay right where they're at. And the second reason why I wanted to mention Laura Loomer is this. You see what all that hate does to you? You see how it affects your skin? That hate, it just gets out. It's like underneath your pores and it's just poking, trying to get out. And then when you don't release the hate, when you don't find some peace within yourself, it just presses down at the jaw. It elongates the face, creates pock marks around the chin, drives the eyes from one another like X's. Do you see what the hate does to you? It is so bad. And I have so much compassion for her. I really do, because I can understand if you go to a church or something like that, then that's a place that you can find some peace and release hate. They won't let her in a church looking like that. They won't let her in a church looking like horrorcore cosplay. They won't let her in a church. So she has difficulty releasing that hate. X and Twitter is where she releases that hate. Now I get it. Now I totally understand. Now what kind of racist would Laura Loomer be if she didn't also attack Kamala Harris? It's time for Republicans to start talking about Kamala Harris's sexual history and the reason why she doesn't have any children of her own. I'm willing to bet she's had so many abortions that she's damaged her uterus. A woman who has no biological children of her own should not be allowed to make decisions in the White House for your children. Now, I've already dragged Laura Loomer to the alien meet. She is also unmarried. She also has no children. And this is the first time anybody has ever inquired about that. I'm not going to drag her about that because it's one of the few positive things that we have to look forward to in this story. It is time to move on to our next nominee, Kellyanne Conway. Who had the good sense to go on Fox News airwaves with this take.
She had disastrous staff turnover as vice president. I check it on the daily. Her public schedule, gentlemen, rarely has anything on it, or one or two things on it. She does not speak well. She does not work hard.
All right, so
Kellyanne,
let me ask you.
And she should not be the standard bearer for the party. Yes, sir.
She doesn't speak well and she doesn't work hard. Anything else you want to go with? She doesn't speak well. She don't work hard. She lazy. Her breath smell like watermelon. She be eating Popeye's biscuits with no drink. Is there anything else that you want to get off your chest? Is there anything else? She never shows up on time. There you go. She never shows up on time, and she will only get stuff on set. I bet she has a drawer full of nothing but shopping bags. I bet she hoards those plastic shopping bags, and she got a whole drawer. She keep them in her dishwasher. Did you know she keeps shopping bags in her dishwasher? She realized, Kamala Harris, she will take a clean cup out of the cupboard and just pour water in it for no reason before she put her drink in it. There it is. She had the nerve to give us the laziest stereotypes imaginable while wearing blackface. I don't understand. Pick a struggle, Kellyanne Conway. At least show some appreciation for the culture if you're going to go with the complexion. When you chose the complexion, that should have came with a little bit of respect for the culture. You can't disrespect black people while wearing blackface. Now, while we're talking about people's work ethic, by the way, is this your man's? Because it looked like it's your man's. It looked like it's your man's. By the way, is this you? That's all that hard work you've been doing? Is that it? Yeah, that's all I can tell. Look like you was working hard. Even your own husband wasn't even down with this. Hey, George Conway, ain't you supposed to be keeping her occupied? Yeah, man, keep her occupied. You be all over CNN and MSNBC. Look, you got one job, and it's keep Kellyanne Conway away from cameras. Which brings me to my last nominee, Megyn Kelly. Who decided to go the Laura Loomer route of attack. Now, the reactionary thing to do would be to go back at Megyn Kelly.
Because I am a woman, an adult human female. Because for far too long, I failed to see the harm and therefore helped cause it. To the women and men who helped open my eyes, thank you.
But in this case, I don't want to do that because I am so grateful that she did this. I'm so happy Megyn Kelly did this because if she hadn't, I wouldn't have known she allegedly had an affair with Brit Hume. And there's a lovely little tale about her twirling for Roger Ailes. Imagine coming for Kamala Harris and a Brit Hume allegation and Roger Ailes twirl lands on your head. Thank you for coming. Brit Hume, look, a lot of people have slept their way to the top, but they picked much better candidates than Brit Hume. They had a much better time doing it than Brit Hume. I can tell you that right now. That's like me sleeping to the top with Ann Coulter and Laura Ingraham. No disrespect, Dinesh D'Souza and Jimmy Walker. Now, you refuted these allegations, saying you hate people think that you slept your way to the top, but this is exactly your route of address with other women. Why would that be your route of attack when you hate that other people think that you slept your way to the top? So it's something that's too good for you, but it's not something that you're above putting on Kamala Harris. Is that what it is? I also want you to take note that we have 3 women. Okay, well, 2 women and Laura Loomer that chose to slut shame Kamala Harris. The highest of pick-me behavior. The absolute highest of pick-me behavior, which is just sad. It's just sad because you realize when you start to exhibit pick-me behavior, that is when you have reached the peak of threatened. Like, you are absolutely threatened, which, if you're on the left side of the aisle, is phenomenal. They weren't feeling this way a week ago, and we know it. Thank y'all for coming, and congratulations to Megyn Kelly, Kellyanne Conway, and Laura Loomer. You are our racists of the week. As always, if you have somebody you would like to nominate, go ahead and leave it in the comments. You can email me at reese.waters@gmail.com, and be sure to subscribe to the page to make sure you get notified when the next video drops. By the way, I have an email list that I maintain, and I have a newsletter that I send out periodically as well. I would love for you to get on my email list. Feel free to shoot me a message at reese.waters@gmail.com. That's reese.waters@gmail.com. And the same goes if you have any suggestions for videos, if you have any nominees for Races of the Week, if you have something that you are troubled by, or you just want to throw me a kudos, feel free to email me. I don't always get a chance to look at all of the comments, but I definitely look at all of the emails and I respond. Hey, Democrats, let me holler at y'all for a second. Yeah. Let me holler at y'all, Democrats. Hi, my name is Reese Waters, and I'm troubled. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. Well, they finally did it.
Joe Biden is grounded. He's grounded in his faith, in his family, and in our state. Excuse me. I'm sorry. This was a very difficult decision, and one that I think reflects the very best of who Joe Biden is. Someone who, as you put it, Bob, comes home because it's where his strength is. His strength is in his family. His strength is in our community. His strength is in his faith. As he was finding his way through the tragic loss of his wife and daughter back in 1972, that began his career in the Senate, it was in Delaware, and it was in his faith that he found the grounding and the strength to be able to get back up and continue. And in every chapter in his life, in politics, in service, in his family, and at home, he's been grounded. Joe Biden, more than anyone I've ever known, speaks to what is best in the American spirit, a capacity to keep going, to see challenges, but to find hope and to find strength.
You know Biden got to be tight. Yeah, I mean, you know Biden got to be tight. He like, wait a minute. So y'all just gonna force me to retire from the company, but the dude who started 4 weeks after me gets to stay on? He been stealing from the company for 50 years. Let's go ahead and get one thing straight. To the Democrats who pushed out Joe Biden, You made one debate performance, and I assume it was one debate performance, because if not, you had 4 whole years to do this business. Y'all took longer than Michael took to leave the Jackson 5 to handle Joe Biden and his age. Y'all made one debate performance more punitive than this.
Viktor Orban. Did anyone ever hear of him? He's the leader of Turkey. By the way, they never report the crowd on January 6th. You know, Nikki Haley is in charge of security. 3 years later, how about that?
Did you actually have a one-on-one with Comey then?
Not much, not even that I remember. I like mosquitoes. We have languages coming into our country. We have nobody that even speaks those languages. They're truly foreign languages. Nobody speaks them. Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your... Oh. I have a really good memory.
Your next wife was a woman by the name of Marla Maples.
That's right.
Do you recall what years you were married to Ms. Maples?
It's called like Up Here, and it's called Memory, and it's called other things.
So you don't remember saying you have one of the best memories?
I don't remember that. And Putin, you know, has so little respect for Obama that he's starting to throw around the nuclear word. You heard that, nuclear. We have to win in November, or we're not going to have Pennsylvania. They'll change the name. I talked to Putin a lot.
How much did you vote for? Did you ask him that?
I don't remember that. I saw that this morning. I don't remember asking him that question. I have a good memory and all that stuff, like a great memory. For 20 years, they were fighting ISIS. I defeated ISIS in 4 weeks. And we did with Obama. We won an election that everyone said couldn't be won. I'm not cognitively. And you know what? When I am, you're going to know it. You're going to be the first people. I know my people. You'll say, all right, Trump, you did a good job. Get the hell out of here. That's it.
Or this.
You know who embraced it more than anybody else? The black population. It's incredible. You see black people walking around with my mugshot. You know, they do shirts.
Or this.
Count 1, guilty. Count 2, guilty. Count 3, guilty. Count 4, guilty. Count 5, guilty. Those are the first 5 counts coming out of this jury, finding Donald J. Trump guilty on the first 5 felony counts. Reading the rest as we are getting it from our court reporters.
Starting with count 6.
Count 6, guilty. Count 7, guilty. Count 8, guilty. And you'll see on the screen we're tracking ahead. Count 9, guilty. Count 10, guilty. Count 11, guilty. Count 12, guilty. Count 13, guilty. Count 14, guilty. Count 16, guilty. Count 17, guilty. Count 18, guilty. Count 19, guilty. Count 20, guilty. Count 21, guilty. Count 22, guilty. Count 23, guilty. Count 24, guilty. Count 25, guilty. Count 26, guilty. Count 27, we're seeing that on screen, guilty. Count 28, guilty. Those are the first 28 felony counts here as read by the jury. Count 29, guilty. Count 30, guilty. Count 31, guilty. Count 32, guilty. Count 33 and 34, guilty.
Or even this.
I moved on her like a bitch, but I couldn't get there. And she was married. And all of a sudden, I see her. She's now got the big phony tits and everything. She's totally changed her look. I got to use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her. You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even know. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Whatever you want. Grab them by the...
To the Democrats who pushed out Joe Biden, if y'all can't get better, and I mean much better, like treat it like George Costanza opposite day and just do the opposite of what you think is right. If y'all don't get much better at messaging and marketing, it don't matter who you run because the mission is clear and the stakes are clear.
We can finish the work that Joe Biden has done to restore our democracy and build our economy, or we can turn the greatest country in the world over to a felon, judged, 6-time bankrupt businessman who sent his friends to violently storm the last office from which he was fired. To me, the choice isn't hard, and it's pretty clear that Kamala Harris would be the best one.
Hey, Van Jones, Van Jones, fix your face.
Even people who are pushing for this to happen, it's kind of like when your grandpa, you got to take the keys, and everybody, you got to take his keys, you got to take his keys, you got to, and he's fighting and he's fighting, and everybody's so frustrated, and then you finally get the keys back, and then you just cry, because this is somebody that you love, this is somebody that you care about, this is somebody who was there for you, this is somebody you wouldn't be here without him, and you have to take something from him. Now, this is not, look, this politics is politics, but this is a human moment for one of the great humans in America. This is a huge moment for him, for his family, for all of us who love him, for all of us who wanted him to get across the finish line. But if you're a young person watching this, this is leadership. This is patriotism. This is what it means to put the country first, and put the party first, and put the cause first. When your arm gets tired, you let somebody else finish pitching the game. That's what Joe Biden has done, and he's done that for all of us. And so I just want to say, I don't know who's going to be the VP, the non-VP. I don't know anything about politics. I just know that I love this man. I care about this man. It was painful every day to sit up here and talk about him like he's just a, some problem for the party. Wait till we get to the convention. You're going to see people crying, standing, screaming, cheering. He may not get a chance to talk for 10 minutes when we finally get a chance to put our arm around this guy. He did the right thing for this country. He did the right thing for this party. All of us are going to be in this situation someday, and I hope that we take a moment to honor this man and to love this man. I love Joe Biden. I appreciate what he's done, and a lot of people are heartbroken today. Even if it's the right thing, it's still just horrible.
Whatever happened to don't cry at work? You ain't cried this hard since Amber Rose left stage. Now it is true. Joe Biden's record deserved better. The number of uninsured Americans is at an all-time low. Job growth in Biden's first 3 years outperformed any previous president. The cost of living is going down. Green spending is up. Families are richer than ever, and net worth has climbed under Joe Biden. Inequality is narrowing after a rise in real wages for low-income workers. The stock market is booming, and despite what MAGA tells you, violent crimes, especially homicides, have fallen.
What a man. What a patriot. What an act of selfless devotion to your country. And he has been a phenomenal president. He brought us back from COVID. He, gave us the best recovery from COVID of any major nation on earth at a time when the world has economically been struggling in the wake of COVID. The Biden economy is literally the envy of the world. He ended the presidency of Donald Trump at one disastrous term. And he did it while being decent and civil and honorable and normal and occasionally boring at a time when boring was absolutely what we needed. And I just, his career of decades in public service as a senator and as a very successful vice president and as a phenomenally successful president, there is no single thing that he has done in that entire career that is a greater or more consequential act of service and sacrifice to this country than what he has done today. And I cannot, knowing him a little bit, knowing his personality, having spoken to him, a number of times in my life, both in sort of official and unofficial capacities, I cannot see anywhere in his personality where this decision today was possible. This is the opposite of something that is natural or easy for him. He is just not built to do something like this because his superpower is being underestimated. And that's why he's been so resolute in resisting all these calls for him to drop out. But him making this decision today is to give the country a chance, a reasonable chance at not putting Donald Trump back in the White House, not putting a president back in the White House who refused to leave the last time and summoned an angry mob to try to overthrow the government rather than go. This is Joe Biden saying, apparently it's not me, the one that gives us the best chance to do that. It's got to be somebody else, and so I will step aside. I'm just blown away by the sacrifice and the patriotism that this moment embodies.
To the Democrats who pushed out Joe Biden, you let one debate performance be more punitive than it doesn't matter who you run. You don't think the right is primed to attack whoever the Democrats throw out. It doesn't have to be fair. It don't have to be true, but it is coming. There ain't no silver bullet candidate who's not going to get unfair slander from the right. In fact, they already started with Kamala.
But I mean, do these donors really think that Kamala Harris is going to do better in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania than Joe Biden would? I mean, that's the because it can't be anybody else, right?
Hey, Rob, you're being logical. Stop it. All right. She's a DEI hire, right? She's a woman. She's colored. Therefore, she's got to be good.
There's a lot at stake. Plus, the progressive movement, they are this close to locking this thing in. They have opened the borders. They've changed the entire culture of this country. If you look at the cities, it's almost over. If they can drag him across the finish line and install Kamala, we have a DEI presidency that they can celebrate for the rest of the administration.
I don't think they can. They're in a box. They are in a box where they've got to choose between a mentally incompetent president and a DEI vice president.
Speaking of which, by the way, Biden very graciously endorsed Kamala Harris in his statement, something that was notably missing from a lot of the calls for Biden to step down. Hey, Democrats, let me holler at y'all for a second. Yeah. Let me holler at y'all, Democrats. Oh, Tiffany Cross has a word? Okay, all right, yeah. Well, Tiffany gonna holler at y'all first. Then I'm gonna be waiting.
Okay, the fact that I'm even on here looking like this on a Sunday, I just want to say it would take a lot of balls for somebody to try to stand between Vice President Kamala Harris and the presidency. I want to issue this warning. You do not want it to be black women versus Democrats. Black women are fighters. We are the base. It would be highly disrespectful and out of pocket for someone to try to leapfrog over Vice President Kamala Harris right now. And I have to say, most of the black women, I've talked about myself, I have to say most of the black women I know, we are mother exhausted with everything that we do to uphold this country and are summarily, routinely dismissed. I'm just telling you, buckle up, guys, because it's going to be a long few months until Election Day. Welcome home, y'all.
Did you think you were going to throw Joe Biden overboard and skip Kamala Harris and keep the black vote? Huh? Is that what y'all thought? Is that what y'all thought? To the Democrats who pushed out Joe Biden and don't want Kamala Harris, what made you think that wasn't going to make us feel a ways? Huh? What made you think reenacting our daily corporate experience within the Democratic Party wasn't going to be a problem? What made you believe that? See, we have to face the hoteps in our own community who say that the Democrats take black votes for granted. And this what y'all do? Huh? This what y'all were trying to do? We have to face people saying they take our votes for granted, and here you are taking our votes for granted, thinking, oh, they're going to be fine. They're going to be all right. Now, don't worry about it. We'll find a way to just smooth it over. And here was my question. If you didn't want Kamala Harris, if you wanted Gavin Newsom or Gretchen Whitmer or Pete Buttigieg or Boo Boo the Fool, whoever, if you didn't want Kamala Harris, but you understand that there's no way you can skip her to keep the black delegation, then what was the point? What was the point? What was the point? Because a different candidate is completely untenable. So what was the point of this exercise? Y'all out here acting like that roommate threatening to move out because y'all have an argument when they don't even have enough money to pay the rent. Where you going? It's bad enough we got to deal with the racism coming from the right.
Kamala Harris said something to the effect that I have no loyalty to this country. Well, I don't know, Kamala. I did serve in the United States Marine Corps and build a business. What the hell have you done other than collect a check?
Now, I'm going to keep it 100. Look, if I had served in the military and somebody questioned my loyalty to America, that might make me feel a ways. I'll be honest, that might make me feel a ways, except for the fact that you are now the vice president for a man who you once called.
You've said I'm a never Trump guy, never liked him, terrible candidate, idiot if you voted for him, might be America's Hitler, might be a cynical a-hole, cultural heroine, noxious and reprehensible.
From a never Trump guy to being his VP. So you can understand how somebody might in fact question your loyalty. In fact, now your whole stance on no-fault divorce makes a whole lot of sense. Now I understand why he wants to make it more difficult for women to leave relationships. Because if you have issues with loyalty, I can understand how that could be an issue, legally forcing your partner to stay in the marriage. Now I understand everything perfectly. Now to the way you landed that plane about what have you done, what was that, other than collect a check?
Well, I don't know, Kamala. I did serve in the United States Marine Corps and build a business. What the hell have you done other than collect a check?
Now let's just say, for the sake of argument, that the vice president just walks around and caddies for the president when they're playing golf, and the rest of the time just sits on the side drinking lemonade. This woman spent 13 years as a prosecutor. She was the first black woman in California history to be elected district attorney. She was also California's attorney general, where she was the first woman to ever be selected to that role. And oh yeah, there's that whole fact of her being a United States senator. You, on the other hand, worked for decades as a venture capitalist and wrote a book. But that doesn't stop you from just leaning into the whole welfare queen trope and saying, what did you do other than collect a check? See, facts don't actually matter to MAGA. It's just whatever it is that they can say and sell. So you just found a way to just stumble into the racism. That is a lovely dress you got there. What color is that? Is that watermelon? I just posted a video yesterday on how hard it is for America to accept black women.
Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot.
The link is in the description. Huh? No, hey, Candace, no, I said black women. Yeah, black women.
I mean, you should not believe it. The things that are happening right now, they're like, oh my, Biden dropped out. And yeah, that's a really big announcement, but also there's a little piece of you that knows that all of this is a little fake and gay.
Of course you think that. Of course, if a man's not leading, then it's totally gay. She does not miss an opportunity to throw women under the bus. She, like the Patrick Mahomes, are throwing women under the bus. And I used to take it personally, right? I used to take it personally as a black person about her consistent anti-blackness, but her anti-women stances might actually trump that. And we should start a constituency. Black women. Oh, well, I thought I was going to be able to go a whole week without having to drag her. And yet, here we go. Bruce Banner, Peter Parker, Danny Davis. What's his power? Apparently, it's longevity. Hi, I'm Reese Waters, and I'm troubled. Thank you guys for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the page and like it on your way out. I'm here to discuss a serious issue affecting American politics, and that is old heads in Congress. Congress has become the world's most powerful retirement home. Nancy Pelosi is 83. Joe Biden is 80. Mitch McConnell was 81, and he's been freezing up in public like a laptop with a virus on it, which I know from experience. I know exactly what that looks like. And McConnell might have picked one up since I told him to be careful about clicking those random links. Hey, X and videos are not the same website, Mitch. I keep telling you that. Of course, We just lost Dianne Feinstein at the age of 90 recently. I was about to say sadly, but 90 is a long life. She had a really good run. If I make it to 90, hey, y'all better celebrate my life. That means I beat all the odds, especially with my eating habits and other habits I picked up. These are the 20 oldest members of Congress, just to put things into perspective. And before I get started, think of the oldest person that comes to mind for you working on our dime. I bet they're not even in the top 10. Now, Feinstein was the oldest member of Congress at the age of 90, but now she's in that Senate building in the sky. Next up would be Senator Chuck Grassley, who's 89 years of age. I'm pretty sure he arrived for his first day in Congress in a chariot. Representative Grace Napolitano is up next at 86 years old, but she's retiring, so I'll be nice to her. Apparently she got an advance copy of this video and did the right thing. Representative Bill Pascrell Jr. of New Jersey is also 86, but he's planning to stay, and apparently no amount of early bird specials at Golden Corral could change his mind. Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton of DC is also 86, but I like her, so I'm gonna go easy on her. I'll just say, I hope she's grooming a successor that's as awesome as she is. Then we have Representative Hal Rogers of Kentucky, who's 85 years old and serving, yes, his 22nd term. That's 2 twos. He's been serving terms almost as long as Colonel Sanders been serving chicken. And I'm gonna say soggy chicken at that. Team Popeyes over here, but I would also settle for Raising Cane's. Representative Maxine Waters is 85. Apparently she meant it when she said she was reclaiming her time. She's gonna need all of it. Maryland Representative Steny Hoyer is 84, and that's my home state. My man's been in office since 1981. I might have voted for him as an infant. Plus, his name is Steny, which means he almost definitely knows how to fight. I mentioned Nancy Pelosi already, and she's number 9 on this list at 83 years old. Coming in at number 10, we have Representative Jim Clyburn of South Carolina, who's also 83, which brings me to Danny Davis of Illinois, who's 82. He's so old, he's from an era where parents gave their kids those Marvel Comics alliterative names in real life, like Bruce Banner, Peter Parker, Danny Davis. What's his power? Apparently it's longevity. And then you have Bernie Sanders, who comes in at the number 12 spot since he's 82 years old. Yes, 82 is good for 12. That's right. There are multiple members of Congress who can legitimately call Bernie Sanders a young man. At lucky number 13, we have Representative John Carter, who's 81. And doesn't John Carter just sound like somebody who came over on the Mayflower? Which legitimately this guy might have. I mentioned Mitch Freeze Frame McConnell already. He's 81 years old, but just good for 14th place. Let that sink in. Next up at 15, Representative Frederica Wilson, who's 80, and which also explains her penchant for wearing sparkly church hats. They won't even sell you one of those until you get past 65. And those hats come with a lifetime supply of butterscotch candy for your purse. Number 16, Representative Anna Eshoo of California, who's 80. I have no idea who she is, which means she's smart enough to stay out of the news and lay low until somebody like me realizes she's been there since 1993. Rounding out the 20 oldest members of Congress, Kay Granger, Rosa DeLauro, Jim Rich, and Virginia Fox, all of whom are also 80. A whole legislative caucus of people as old as Raleigh Forbes from Amen. And by the way, you gotta be pushing 40 just to get that last reference. Wait, does that make me too old for YouTube? You know what? I'm exhausted, and those are just the octogenarians. I haven't even gotten to Donald Trump, the Republican frontrunner for the 2024 election, who's 77. Now, it might not be an issue for him since hateful curmudgeons seem to live forever. You don't believe me? Go visit a nursing home in the South and tell me I'm wrong. Strom Thurmond would still be in office if racist corpses could serve. And so would Bobby Byrd, actually, if they accepted formally racist corpses. Oh, and did I mention the President of the United States is 81 and running again? He turns 82 in November. That means he'll be 86 in office. the highest office in the land. Now, how is Congress supposed to represent all Americans if so many members are at an age where it's natural for there to be a cultural disconnect? Or even a disconnect as far as just being healthy enough or mentally capable of doing their jobs. I'm not being ageist when I ask that after seeing Mitch McConnell have what appeared to be a mini stroke live twice in the last year, only to be told that everything is fine. Now, ageism is in fact a thing as corporations try and phase out their more senior members to make way for younger and often cheaper replacements. But when it comes to lawmaking, we just go the other way? Now, the reason this happens is because running for office and being in office are two entirely different things. These geriatric incumbents are often people who cannot lose because they've been in office for so long, they have connections into every branch of their jurisdiction. They know where the bodies are buried and who to pay to remove those bodies if need be. They're the legislative version of being a made man in the mafia. But one very significant thing, that doesn't necessarily make them good at that particular job, just really, really hard to beat. Mitch McConnell couldn't beat Boo Boo the Fool if he had to run a regular campaign, hit the streets, give speeches, shake hands, kiss babies, and debate Boo Boo head to head. You think he's doing all that? Unfortunately, Mitch and others like him have enough name recognition and clout. They don't have to and haven't had to in some cases for decades. Now, how can we call ourselves the leaders of the free world with octogenarians in Congress or the White House? And once again, before y'all start calling me ageist, let me ask you this. What other job keeps rehiring 80-year-olds? I mean, that's pushing it for a Walmart greeter. These people refuse to retire because it's a plush gig that's very lucrative and even more powerful. It's like a drug that only a select few will ever have access to. These members of Congress are literally saying, you'll have to pry this from my cold, dead hands. You know, it's about time we had laws in place just to keep this from continuing to happen. You know what? I propose a constitutional amendment that requires any lawmaker over 75 to take an annual exam to see if they're in tune with the rest of the world. We know you know who Dean Martin is, but what about Sexy Red? I propose we call this amendment Too Old to Fail. If you have something you want me to look into or something that's troubling you, just throw it in the comments. You could email me at reese.waters@gmail.com or join me on my weekly Tuesday 2 p.m. live. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you get that notification. This happened? How did the wheels fall off this fast? JD Vance gotta be on the worst potential VP run since Sarah Palin said anything. Welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page.
Are you a racist? Do you hate Mexicans?
Bro, I barely even know you. Who starts a conversation like that? How is this our first entry into JD Vance world? Are you just trying to see if it's cool to unleash all the dark thoughts that came out of the crevices of that bowl cut? Why would you even ask me something like that?
This issue is personal. I nearly lost my mother to the poison coming across our border.
That's not gonna age well.
It's amazing how these Trump nut cradlers write books, but then forget what they put in them. So JD Vance is over here lying to you guys, saying his mother was almost a victim of fentanyl poisoning and shit came from the border, right? But his book said otherwise. His mother had a lot of issues, a lot of substance abuse issues as well, and she was a nurse who stole prescriptions from patients. He said it himself. And this is 30 years ago before anyone ever heard the word fentanyl.
And just think about the patients who had their medication taken, had to sit there in pain for no other reason than she wanted to feel special between 3 and 5 p.m. on that particular day as she watched her stories. And then don't even get the credit for going through that pain, but the historical record, you blame it on fentanyl. And also, how do you forget What's in your own book? Do you just wake up every day and reinvent yourself? Who do you think you are, Byron Donalds?
In many ways, what Trump is just another opioid. He's something that's going to take the pain away. He's going to make people feel better for a little while. But at the end of the day, the problems are still going to be there.
This is an evolution, and I know you've been asked about this before, about past comments that you've made about Donald Trump. You've said, I'm a never Trump guy, never liked him, terrible candidate, idiot if you voted for him, might be America's Hitler, might be a cynical a-hole, cultural heroine, noxious and reprehensible.
Now, this was when J.D. Vance first burst upon the political scene. This is what he had to say. I gotta ask, are you loyal to anybody?
Look, I love my wife so much. I love her because she's who she is. Obviously, she's not a white person, and we've been attacked by some white supremacists over that. But I love Usha. She's such a good mom.
Whoa, 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 whoa. You had me at but. Obviously, she's not a white person, but why is there a but? She shouldn't have to be a white person for you to love her. Here you are apologizing for the fact that your wife is not a white person. Way to legitimize all the knuckleheads that are coming in with racism, who you know are there, and you want to make sure feel perfectly comfortable, so you throw your Indian wife under the bus. I actually feel bad for her. Okay, never mind. No, I don't. My bad. I'm sorry. I didn't realize she was Nikki Haley Brown. Now, I didn't realize she was Nikki Haley, Vivek Ramaswamy, Dinesh D'Souza, throw all minorities under the bus to achieve peak whiteness. I didn't know she was from that package of the Crayola.
Our likely opponent, Kamala Harris, because, she said a couple of days ago that I showed no loyalty to the United States, that I have no loyalty to the United States. Well, I don't know, Kamala. I served in the United States Marine Corps, and I built a business. What the hell have you done other than collect a government check for the past 20 years?
Now, first of all, there are a lot of different people that are questioning your loyalty. It is not just Kamala Harris. Obviously, your wife could question your loyalty based on what you just said. Your constituents could question your loyalty. Trump could question your loyalty. Your own face could question your loyalty, given the fact that you like to cover it with so much blush and foundation. Apparently, the entire country can question your loyalty as well. Dish you?
What the hell have you done other than collect a government check for the past 20 years?
Nah, we're not gonna do that. Now, see, JD, you gotta steer clear of all. You gotta steer clear of leaning into those kinds of tropes. You gotta steer clear of that, because Kamala Harris was a prosecutor and a DA and an attorney general and a senator before serving as vice president. And you wrote a book that you apparently didn't even read, because you out here claiming that it was fentanyl. So we want to steer clear of any comparison of records, because there's no other conclusion one could come to other than that you, in fact, are the unqualified DEI hire. And while we're speaking of records, state of Ohio. Y'all know me. Y'all know how I feel about Ohio. I got a kinship with you, but this your man's.
Now, where can I get a good fried bologna sandwich right now? All right, this is the guy who makes it. But I I'll tell you another story. That's right. He probably does have an IQ of 210, but don't tell him that. Don't tell him that. So, I love you guys. But
So I just
You know somebody's struggling on stage when they start just talking to the crowd like, hey, how y'all doing? Hey, how y'all feeling? Hey, give it up for the ladies, huh? Give it up for the ladies. Hey, if you got fingernails, clap. If you got fingernails, a round of applause. Yeah, give it up for your fingernails. Between his terrible record, his lack of any consistency, and the complete absence of charisma, how in the hell did he get elected, Ohio? How in the hell did he get elected? How did you even pay attention to him long enough to realize that he was somebody that you like? See, that's why I went with Ozzie Newsome. That's why I went, because you betrayed yourselves. You betrayed yourselves, Ohio.
And this is one of the great tricks that I think the sexual revolution pulled on the American populace, which is this idea that, like, well, okay, these marriages were fundamentally, they were maybe even violent, but certainly they were unhappy. And so getting rid of them and making it easier for people to shift spouses like they change their underwear, that's going to make people happier in the long term. And maybe it worked out for the moms and dads, though I'm skeptical, but it really didn't work out for the kids of those marriages.
I get it now. I get it now. It's the sorry husbands. I get it. It's the sorry husbands that voted for J.D. Vance because he felt like he gave them a way to forcibly keep their wives in the marriage. Now I got it. Now they not know we're not gonna do right. We just gonna make it illegal for her to leave. That's what it is. I'm do me. I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna just make sure that she can't do her. She's also gonna be doing me. You know what? Why don't we run that back?
And this is one of the great tricks that I think the sexual revolution pulled on the American populace, which is this idea that, like, well, okay, these marriages were fundamentally, they were maybe even violent, but certainly they were unhappy. And so getting rid of them and making it easier for people to shift spouses like they change their underwear, that's going to make people happier in the long term. And maybe it worked out for the moms and dads, though I'm skeptical, but it really didn't work out for the kids.
So if I got this straight, despite the fact that people say that it worked out for them to get a divorce, you challenge that. So apparently J.D. Vance knows better than people about their own situations, not to mention the fact that he ignores the damage that occurs when people decide to stay in an abusive relationship, because that's never traumatic to the kids. No, that's never traumatic to the kids when an abusive relationship is just allowed to continue in perpetuity. And then you add on top of that the fact that these are people who actively don't want to be together but are legally obligated to stay. How's that going to work out? That was worse for Ohio than J.R. Smith's timeout. I can't think of anything more damaging he possibly could have said.
Look, what I was basically saying is that we're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. And it's just a basic fact. You look at Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, AOC, the entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children. And how does it make any sense that we've turned our country over to people who don't really have a direct stake in it? I just wanted to ask that question.
So let me get this straight. In an election in which your mission is to wrongfully convince women that you aren't aggressively hostile towards them, you attack childless cat ladies? That was the move for you. That's what you decided to do. Caitlin Clark just catching strays for no reason. She did nothing to deserve this.
We're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. And it's just a basic fact. You look at Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, AOC, the entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children. And how does it make any sense that we've turned our country over to people who don't really have a direct stake in it?
Childless cat ladies. There is growing criticism online right now to those comments, including from actress Jennifer Aniston. April, if your problem in the last election was suburban women, is this what you want voters to be hearing right now?
Now, JD, I have had a long-standing beef with Jennifer Aniston. It goes all the way back to the fact that people don't see Friends as the living single reboot that it actually is. Also, that you had a whole network show that didn't see fit to include black people in it at all. And the fact that apparently they were all trust fund babies, or they were just picking up envelopes of money because they wasn't working but could afford bomb apartments in New York when I was living there, working 2 jobs to live in the basement with a roommate. But I'm not mad. I'm not mad. I've let it all go. And then it actually continued when she took a shot at Jamie Foxx and didn't apologize when she accused him of anti-Semitism. Me and Jennifer Aniston are kind of beefing. But one thing I do know is that you probably just want to lay out at this point, considering the fact that you have staked out ground opposite the women who you need to woo. I'm gonna tell you one thing: they love Jennifer Aniston. So I would just stand down.
You have Hollywood celebrities saying, oh, well, JD Vance, what if your daughter suffered fertility problems? Well, first of all, that's disgusting because my daughter is 2 years old. And second of all, if she had fertility problems, as I said in that speech, I would try everything I could to try to help her because I believe families and babies are a good thing. That's the whole point, is if you believe families and babies are a good thing, you should be trying to promote life. You should try to promote the fact that we want to have a good family policy in this country.
So you decided to clap back. You decided to clap back, and you go with disgusting to characterize her talking about the reality that your daughter will one day become a woman. That's disgusting because she's talking about the eventuality of her growing up. Is that disgusting? Oh, I get why you want to see her as a child and not a woman, because if you see her as a woman, then you would have to attack her. I get it, because that clearly is your MO. Or you would have to apologize for her Indianness.
Oh, hey! As you might have heard, Donald Trump's running mate and future star of his own Dateline episode, J.D. Vance, is ruffling quite a few feathers this week.
We're effectively run in this country by a bunch of childless cat ladies who look at Kamala Harris. The entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children.
Listen up, you wingnut elegy. This country is still controlled by men in systems that were set up by men that are carefully crafted to continue to benefit men. So, to put it in women-hating terms, you'll understand, you're being hysterical. But let's be clear, there's no correlation between childless people and the presidency. For example, our very first United States president, Mr. George Washington, didn't have children. In fact, he had 2 stepchildren. That's right, just like someone else I know. And to your point about Kamala not being fit because she's not a mother, I'd like to remind you that no president in the history of the United States has ever been a mother. But maybe if she had 5 kids with 3 different men and a scandalous affair with a porn star and was convicted felon, that would be more palatable to Republican men. I mean, my God, are we tired? You sad, diet, Mountain Dew drinking, couch humping, dolphin porn aficionado, all of us childless cat and dog ladies are going to go from childless and crushing it to childless and crushing you in November. And before you tell me he didn't really fuck a couch, spare me. I grew up in New Jersey in the 80s where everyone had a couch in their basement, and I know a couch fucker when I see one.
Now, what's this I hear about a couch?
Okay, so there's this rumor online that J.D. Vance wrote about having sex with his couch. That's not true, and today we're going to prove it. I should also say that I used to work in Democratic politics, and so as much as I hate J.D. Vance, I hate misinformation more. Anyway, here's a page. There's no number, but it's 179. Let's give it a read. During my first year at Yale, I felt like nobody would accept the real me. A working class kid who spent every night and sucking the cotton cheeks of Mama's couch while the ottoman watched, pushing that cushion with my eager little between its blow the back out of this dirty bend it over like a recliner. Unlike my classmates, I didn't grow up with a chaise lawn. I had a
Well, I'm sure we will all handle this responsibly as a country. How did this happen? How did the wheels fall off this fast? JD Vance gotta be on the worst potential VP run since Sarah Palin said anything.
I think it's a profound contradiction, but maybe it's not that complicated. I know there are a lot of folks who say, what's going on with some of these Silicon Valley folks veering into Trump world with JD Vance and backing Trump? What are they thinking? Silicon Valley is supposed to be, they're supposed to care about climate. They're supposed to be, pro-science and rational and libertarian. So normally libertarians don't like authoritarians. What's up with that? I think it's actually, we've made it way too complicated. It's super simple. These are very rich men who have decided to back the Republican Party that tends to do good things for very rich men.
Couldn't agree more.
And by the way, that's kind of what you're getting with. That's kind of what you're getting with JD, right? So I knew a lot of people like him when I got to Harvard. I found a lot of people like him who would say whatever they needed to get ahead. And 5 years ago, that seemed like being the anti-Trump Republican. So that's what he was. Talked about how he was unfit, how he was cynical, called him an opioid, which is kind of a weird thing to say about a person, but definitely a really... But I mean, for somebody whose identity is that they're connected to Appalachia, which has an opioid crisis, that really is the darkest thing you could possibly say about Donald Trump, at least in public. 5 years later, the way he gets ahead is that he's the greatest guy since sliced bread.
Oh, we all know a social climber when we see one, and no pound of makeup can hide your social climbing.
And I actually watched this exact same process with somebody else I got to know in my days in the Midwest, which was my former governor, Mike Pence, who I watched start out as an evangelical Christian who cared about rectitude and family values, and then get on board with a guy who was mixed up with a porn star, make excuses for him, so that he could have power. And then he did. He got 4 glorious years, I guess, as vice president of the United States. And it ended on the west front of the Capitol with Trump supporters proposing that he be hanged for using the one shred of integrity he still had to stand up to an attempt to overthrow the government.
Right.
So I guess, maybe not as a politician, but as a human being, what I'll say is that I hope things work out a little bit better for J.D. Vance than they did for Mike Pence.
Somehow I doubt it, but you're just slow enough to try. Bro, you even lost Tomi Lahren.
I think they're going to replay the clip, and they already have. I mean, they already have, about him calling, women and calling Kamala Harris and others childless cat ladies. If we're trying to win, if we're trying to win suburban women, and this is something that he said a while back, but if you're trying to win suburban women and you call suburban women childless cat ladies, you're not going to convince them to come over to your side.
No question.
I think it's funny as a Republican, but I don't think a lot of suburban women that are on the fence are going to find it funny.
And also apparently your abortion stance on your website, but that's just another thing that's flexible. Man, you ain't loyal to nobody and no thing. And I can tell you this, Trump ain't gonna like this. He's not gonna like this at all. Not the disloyalty, but the constant gaffes keeping you in the news. He's not gonna like that. That is his brand. That is a specific Trump brand, being so maniacal and making so many mistakes that you just flood the internet with memes. That is his thing. And after all of this, I gotta ask, man, are you a Democrat?
The addition of J.D. Vance to this ticket, it's incredibly bad choice. I think Donald Trump, I know him, and he's probably sitting and watching the TV, and every day Vance, it comes out Vance has done something more extreme, more weird, more erratic. Vance seems to be more erratic and more extreme than President Trump. And I'll bet President Trump is sitting there scratching his head and wondering, why did I pick this guy? The choice may be one of the best things he ever did for Democrats.
What do you mean?
Now, the president has about 10 days before the Ohio ballot is locked in, and he has a choice. Does he keep Vance on the ticket, where he already has a whole lot of baggage? He's probably going to be more baggage over the weeks because we'll hear more things about him, or does he pick someone new? It's his choice.
At a time like this, I think it's important to think of the real victims of J.D. Vance's horrifically bad VP run. And that is Tim Scott and Byron Donalds. Y'all got passed over for this dude. By the way, I have an email list that I maintain, and I have a newsletter that I send out periodically as well. I would love for you to get on my email list. Feel free to shoot me a message at reese.waters@gmail.com. That's reese.waters@gmail.com. And the same goes if you have any suggestions for videos, if you have any nominees for Racist of the Week, if you have something that you are troubled by, or you just want to throw me a kudos, feel free to email me. I don't always get a chance to look at all of the comments, but I definitely look at all of the emails and I respond.
And there are those that would make some people believe that because I happen to be black and or a woman, that somehow, even though I can rattle off all the qualifications in the world, my blackness makes me unqualified.
Y'all should have never got this sister started. Welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. Now, I have previously exposed here on this very platform the stupidity and flat out racism and all this anti-DEI rhetoric, be it Claudine Gay. Claudine Gay has suffered attacks on her character and especially her record. You know, the record that includes a BA from Stanford, a PhD from Harvard, being a Stanford professor, a Harvard professor, Harvard's dean of faculty, and finally Harvard's president. A school that's had multiple presidents with no PhD, but she has one from Harvard. I suppose that's not enough. The Boeing fiasco or the Key Bridge in Baltimore. Now, just put aside for a moment, how the f is this the mayor's fault? Links to those are in the bio, by the way, but Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett just dropped the mic.
I just want to go over a few things that are concerning and alarming to me. I don't know if you're familiar, but have you ever heard of Project 2025?
I've read about that, Congresswoman.
Okay. And there are some things indicated in Project 2025 that are quite concerning to me. And I want to talk about a few of those topics because this hearing almost feels like a Project 2025 hearing. One of those topics is diversity in the workplace. The agenda includes making sure that the next conservative administration dismantles DEI apparatus by eliminating various chief diversity officer positions, et cetera. And you engaged in an exchange earlier with one of my colleagues, and I don't know if you recall, but it was hitting me a little differently as a black woman sitting here, because it almost seemed as if you either get diversity or you get qualifications. It did not seem as if my colleague understood that someone can be diverse and qualified. And it is why you have people like me that get very frustrated, not just in the halls of Congress, but in general in this country. Because as I'm sitting here, and there seemed to be this question of you're either diverse or you're qualified, all I could think about was the fact that I currently hold an honorary doctorate. I also hold a Juris Doctorate. I also hold a bachelor's. I also technically hold the rank of Lieutenant Colonel in the Civil Air Patrol, and I actually practiced law for almost 2 decades, in addition to serving on various boards, in addition to being a prior state lawmaker. And there are those that would make some people believe that because I happen to be black and or a woman, that somehow, even though I can rattle off all the qualifications in the world, my blackness makes me unqualified. My question to you is that the attitude that you subscribe to?
You are either diverse or you're qualified. Now, the anti-DEI crowd would argue it's about the best person for the job, right? Regardless of skin color. Then how come you never point to nepotism, huh? How can we never point to nepotism or any of the cronyism that's involved? Your man, Donald Trump, just appointed his daughter-in-law to head the RNC because she was the last person left in the family who wasn't already working in the administration. Well, see, the thing is, because when I put on my red hat, see, I wasn't the best person for the job. But when I put on my red MAGA hat, then it's the best Trump for the job. I can't help it. And besides, if it was about the best person for the job, where in the world is all the smoke for Marjorie Taylor Greene? Lauren Boebert, anybody? Can you imagine if Jasmine Crockett had a mugshot? How about if her feed was filled with video of her working out?
Joe Biden, you're not a president. You're a piece of shit.
But meanwhile,
that I currently hold an honorary doctorate. I also hold a Juris Doctorate. I also hold a bachelor's. I also technically hold the rank of Lieutenant Colonel in the Civil Air Patrol, and I actually practiced law for almost 2 decades, in addition to serving on various boards, in addition to being a prior state lawmaker. And there are those that would make some people believe that because I happen to be black and or a woman, that somehow, even though I can rattle off all the qualifications in the world, my blackness makes me unqualified.
It's pretty clear this ain't about qualifications. Now, I will throw you this bone. It seems pretty clear you don't vet anybody on that side of the aisle.
You know, Cain killed Abel, and that's the problem that we have. And I said, what we need to do is look into how we can stop those things. You know, he talked about doing a disinformation. What about getting a department that can look at young men that's looking at women, that's looking at just social media? What about doing that, looking into things like that, and we can stop that way? But yet they want to just continue to talk about taking away your constitutional rights. And I think there's more things we need to look into. This has been happening for years, and the way we stop it by putting money into the mental health field, by putting money into other departments rather than departments that want to take away your rights.
But everybody you attack on this side of the aisle is a person of color. Now why is that? That is quite the coincidence. Is this some kind of passenger 57 thing? Always bet on black?
Well, let me give you a word of advice.
Always bet on black.
In fact, the best argument for DEI programs is your own racism. Nah, they ain't ready. They not, because they not ready to hear this. They not ready to hear about themselves. You know what? I'm gonna give it to you. Your racism got away from you and wandered away from the porch without a leash. The sheer fact that you identify any black person, whether they earn their position through years of service, DEI. They were nominated, DEI. If they were elected, DEI. That's the reason why diversity initiatives are necessary, because too many of you can't evaluate us based on anything other than the color of our skin. And you made that abundantly clear in your reaction to Jasmine Crockett. That is right, you played yourselves. No, we don't need no cash registers in this here store, because cash registers make you stupid. Hold on a second. What's that, $5.95? Okay, out of 20, there's your 10 back. Thank you for coming. You are literally proving the necessity for the thing that you detest so much. And that's before we get to the fact that, like Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott, Jasmine Crockett was elected. I guess that was some kind of special DEI ballots that people were casting in Baltimore and Texas. And what is that? Like a ballot made out of kente cloth? Is that what it is? Like a little kente cloth in the corner? Or is it just like an all black ballot with white writing on it? Is that what the DEI ballots look like? And if you're wondering, by the way, his answer to Jasmine Crockett was pretty interesting in itself.
My blackness makes me unqualified. My question to you is that the attitude that you subscribe to?
Absolutely not, Congresswoman. In fact, what we do at OPM every day is look to knock down barriers that are keeping qualified people like yourself, qualified people from all across America for pursuing federal jobs. Some of the things that we've done, for example, are eliminate unnecessary degree requirements and assess people based on the skills that they have and not just where they learned them. We have opened the doors to recruiting from HBCUs, HSIs, minority-serving institutions, populations that may not have thought of the federal government as an employer before. And we have a broad definition of diversity. There are rural populations that have in the past never considered the federal government as a potential employer because the offices were too far away and they would have to get up and leave from their hometown. Now there are some opportunities that they can stay right in that rural hometown and work for the federal government, let alone the amazing military spouses around this country who have to pick up and move in their jobs when their spouse is redeployed. Trying to tap in and keep that talent in government has been a big priority of ours.
Thank you so much for giving a plug to the Readiness Act.
Not bad. And the Readiness Act, by the way, is legislation that will allow more flexibility for working military and foreign services spouses when a service member is deployed or transferred. The bill was introduced by Congresswoman Crockett and Congressman Don Bacon and is endorsed by several organizations, including Blue Star Families, the Military Family Advisory Network, and With Honor Action. But of course, she's not qualified. The irony is, while you're attacking her blackness, she's actually working for you.
And when we say things like we're fighting for SNAP benefits, I do want to be clear that me fighting for SNAP benefits isn't about my district. I mean, obviously it is, but at the end of the day, so many members have said, my district, my district, my district, my district, my district. When we write a farm bill, it is for everyone in the United States of America. And just to clarify, when it comes to SNAP benefits specifically, rural America uses more SNAP benefits than urban America. And right now, I serve an urban district. The majority of my Republican colleagues serve rural districts. So when I say that I'm fighting for a bill that includes making sure that people in this country don't go hungry, I'm not saying that just to say that this is about Texas 30. I'm saying that to say that this is about all of us. So I am not just fighting for my constituents, I'm fighting for yours too.
I bet you didn't know that, did you? I bet you had absolutely no idea rural America uses more SNAP benefits than urban America. I bet even they didn't know, because we've all been conditioned after Reagan's welfare queen trope back in the 80s. So you can sit there on the farm complaining about the blacks in the cities getting their free handouts, in between walking to the mailbox to get your free handout. And what's so bad, you will even work against your own interests. We will go hungry, because I know we get the handout, but we will go hungry because I don't want them to have it. That is a sacrifice I am willing to make because I am a patriot. If you're looking for somebody to blame, look around the neighborhood.
I want to start off by saying I think most Americans are taught at a very young age that you are who you surround yourself with.
Is the fact that my colleague from the other side of the aisle talked about the company that we keep. And she wanted to go through a list of people that she felt like were bad company, because right now the majority has been relying upon the testimony of someone who's currently sitting in federal prison. And we know that your company is the company of somebody who's been found liable of fraud, as well as defamation, as well as sexual assault, and for whatever reason can't pay his bills.
Go ahead. I'll wait.
But in this particular set of circumstances, we know that if somebody shoots at me, in fact, some would argue that last week I had a colleague that decided she wanted to shoot at me, I'm going to shoot back.
She's a bleached blonde, bad-built fudge body, swinging for the fences, good God almighty. A heat-seeking missile, too scared to debate, cries like a baby when she don't get her way.